Hmm.
Because the tomb was robbed. The tomb was robbed not by grave robbers, like they want to tell you,
Yeah.
actually by official agents working for the Rothschild dynasty who were in charge of the rape of most of the tombs, especially the tombs of the 18th. Well, of course, I'm telling you that they're the descendants of these people,
Yeah.
if not biologically, then certainly ideologically. And the last thing they want the world to know is what's in those tombs.
Mm.
Did you know that in the tomb of Tutankhamun,
Yeah.
there's a couple of statues there, big, big, giant statues. And, of course, these statues wear a very Masonic-looking apron.
Okay.
If you actually compare Masonic aprons to the aprons of the Egyptian, as you see them in these hieroglyphics, you'll notice some very strange similarities.
Yeah.
Well, in one or two of these big megalithic statues, monolithic statues that was in the tomb of Tutankhamun, it was hollow. The apron was hollow, made out of wood, of course, or some type of clay or plaster, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was hollow. And in it, according to the man who wrote the book on this, Gerald O'Farrell, he says that the papyrus that was discovered inside those statues showed clearly that the story of Jesus Christ was based on anecdotes from the life of Tutankhamun.
Gosh.
In black and white that even an imbecile could recognize, the crucifixion included. Now, of course, we know that Tutankhamun only lived to 17 years of age, but before he was murdered, at 17, anecdotes in the life, the complex in his life, and various other anecdotes of his life, this document revealed clearly that this was, whoever had read this document, were very much involved in the writing of the story of Jesus, and that had to be suppressed, because that would cut at the roots of Judeo-Christianity as we know it. And therefore, the Rothschilds got in, the agents of the Rothschilds, Lady Rothschild. See, what people have to understand is this. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the digs,
right,
not only for the tomb of Tutankhamun, but for his brother and Nefertiti, and his henchman, Carter, the man who actually was the archaeologist.
Okay.
Lord Carnarvon's wife was the sister of the Rothschild dynasty. She was a Rothschild.
Gosh.
And it's Rothschild money that funded Lord Carnarvon. He sat on a pile of Rothschild money, and you know what happened? After they had emptied the tombs, the entire collection went into Rothschild keeping.
It's terrible, isn't it? It's disgusting.
A whole lot. Yeah, some went to this museum, some went to that museum, but it was under Rothschild auspices. Carnarvon and Carter were merely agents working for them.
Yeah, there really has been a major smokescreen, hasn't there, Michael?
You bet.
You know. Yeah, I was going to ask you in relation to, the metaphysical aspect of the cult of light that you were speaking about earlier. It seems that it is basically an aim of manipulating the human consciousness and the nature of reality that we experience. Now, could you possibly kind of give us a bit of information on maybe some of the practices that allow for this manipulation to arise and take effect?
Well, this is an absolutely great question, because this has to do with the essence. See, it'll help people to understand what we're talking about if they understand that when you speak of the word atonism, they would know that word better as Luciferianism.
Okay.
Not in the sense of a devil running around with horns on his head, but Lucifer, the son of the morning, the sun in the sky. That might help us move down that road with more clarity. Number two, that light, nothing evil with light in itself, but my book was, one of the volumes is subtitled The Dark Side of the Sun.
Yeah.
Because we still have to grasp something about the nature of light, which has not been grasped by this world, because again, we tend to see light only as a positive thing. But light can be used to blind, light can be used to burn, and light can be used to conceal.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's shining a halogen light in your face, you're blinded and they're concealed. So in the ideology of these children of light, these princes, as I call them, princes of light, and by the way, that's one of their own terms.
Right.
These princes of light know exactly how to mind control you in a multiplicity of ways, and one of the age-old ways to do it is via light. It has certain occult properties, and it's been used on us ever since. The word light, the phenomena light, and if anyone wants to get free of the matrix of control, as I recommend over and over again in my work, they need to observe how light is used, not just in the cities, and it's left on all day and night in the high-rise buildings. They've got to watch how light is used in the schools, how light is used in the supermarkets, how light is used in the streets, how light is used specifically on television, and how images of light are used in billboards, magazines, and so forth and so on. Just observe that, and your life will change forever when you realize that light is being used as a weapon.
Yeah.
It's used in the Bible, it's identified with God, and of course it sets up a dichotomy, doesn't it? The moment that you're believing in anything to do with light, you're immediately opposing an opposite, which is darkness. So immediately a dualism has been erected. And if you're into a dualism, the next step, you won't probably notice that this is happening, but you might start even equating parts of your own mind with that darkness. Hey, you might even start thinking of the opposite sex, or the world, or nature, or animals. You see, once you've created this, and this is all going back to Akhenaton. When these guys did not even, as soon as the sun sank beneath the horizon, they went to bed.
Right.
And only when it rose up in the morning they were prepared to do their prayers. They were completely children of light. Now, psychologists will tell you that this is a total, absolute sign of megalomania. Because it's also a sign of hyper-extroversion. They know about what it means for the psyche. They know that this person is not dealing with their unconscious, not dealing with their body. These people are dealing only with their, what we would now express as the neocortex, the frontal lobes, waking consciousness, ego consciousness. If you read Akhenaton's own writings about the darkness and getting rid of the occult of Osiris and getting rid of the cult of Amun-Ra, suppressing women, not letting them, having no female cults anymore and all of this kind of thing, you suddenly come to understand that this man's megalomania, he was light possessed, light infatuated. He was a disciple of light. But not, as I say, the positive side of light, because the positive side of light was being used by previous cults where they had a balance. They had a balance of night and day, yin and yang, sun and moon, male and female. That was a hallmark of the Amunism that came before. That doesn't mean that Amunism probably didn't have some reprehensible aspects, but that's found in all religions. But generally speaking, Amunism was far more balanced and far more balanced. In fact, they even had a triplicity, which I believe was inherited from the Druids, or what's known as the Shamsu Hor, the disciples of Horus, these Western adepts who tutored the Egyptians in the earliest days of their dynasties, way, way back, thousands of years before Akhenaton came on the scene. Now, Akhenaton, throughout all of those, ostensibly got rid of dualism, which on paper sounds mighty good, because you're talking about the metaphysics of all of this. Yeah, on paper it sounds good to be dealing with the absence of dualism, but that's not what happens at all. The moment that you put the sun or light as the center of something, you're automatically creating the worst dualism conceivable.
Yeah.
You're simply disassociating. And in order to be able to do that, you yourself must be disassociated. And therefore everything you touch is going to be infected in that way.
It's fascinating information you're giving us here, Michael. It really is, because I'm really, really fascinated with this whole concept of, the light worship. And when I've heard you mention this dark side of the sun, it's something I've wanted to explore. How you just elaborated, look around, at the different lights within different environments and how they're being used. I think that piece of information there is imperative, to all of us who are, in this awakening and trying to basically get, a grip on the overall scale of what's going on, not just on an external level, but more of a spiritual level,
Or one can trace it, I think I mentioned in a couple of